What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network, and we are back to discuss Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. It is in theaters, if you can see it in limited theaters, but it's also now officially on Netflix. I had a chance to see it back at the Toronto International Film Festival a couple months ago, and my two co-hosts just had a chance to see it recently. So I'm going to be one of your hosts. My name is Darian. I am joined by Liz Seiko.
What's happening?
And Michael Peniston.
Hello, hello.
Guillermo del Toro is a very fascinating filmmaker. He's one of, I feel like, cinema's most celebrated filmmakers in recent memory. He has a Best Picture winner. He's had films surpass this language barrier over time. He's tackled comic book properties. He's done animation. He's done television. He's done all these things. But Frankenstein is his magnum opus in terms of he's always wanted to do this story. He said it's been his passion project since he was a kid. Netflix dished out, I believe, 200+ million for him to see this through. There is some CGI. There is a lot of practical that happens in this movie as well. They build a lot of the sets. Mm-hmm. And this movie, as I said, I saw it back at TIFF. And one of the things that was still the talk of the town, even though the movie was already done and it was being released at that point, was that the role of Frankenstein, the titular character, was recast with 2 weeks before filming. Which I don't know if you guys knew that or not.
I did not know that.
But so it was, the rest of the cast was already cast. It was a scheduling conflict. Andrew Garfield was supposed to play Frankenstein, which would have been really interesting casting. Wow. We could talk about it. But he dropped out of the project. They bring in Jacob Elordi, best known for Euphoria, best known for Saltburn, best known for Priscilla.
The Kissing Booth. The
Kissing Booth for other Netflix fans that are watching. And so Jacob Elordi comes in to play the titular character of Frankenstein. Alongside him in this movie, you have Oscar Isaac, you have Christoph Waltz, you have Mia Goth, you have Charles Dance, you have Lars Mikkelsen, a number of other actors and performers. So generally, let's talk broad thoughts on this, because again, I've had a chance to sit on this movie for 2 months. I really like this movie a lot. I said it when we did our TIFF recap. It was one of my top 5 of the festival. I really, really enjoyed this movie. And we said before we started recording, I had a very different experience than you guys, because I saw this movie in a theater on a big screen, like bigger than like our local AMC screen. So like I had a very different experience, I think, theatrically with it. But Liz, starting with you, what are your kind of broad, non-spoilery thoughts on Frankenstein?
I really wish I could have seen this on like the big theater screen. It's beautiful. It's stunning. Just from the moment that first shot of just being in like this Iceland, like snow everywhere, just stuck. It's just beautiful. It gets you going in the story right away. I don't think that I think that if they didn't throw you right into the chaos right away, it would have been like a little bit like of a, ooh, okay, what are we doing? I mean, the performances are really beautiful. The costumes are wild. I think that's maybe some of my favorite costumes of the year so far. Really beautiful, and a lot of different like conversations that they're sprinkling in. And later in the film, they really start to hone in on like the themes that they're trying to talk about creating versus nurturing, and like nature versus nurture, and how you're taken care of equals like how you end up taking care of the world later on. And so I think it's definitely interesting topics. A part of me wishes that it maybe had stayed a little bit more less like hammer on the head of these conversations, and maybe didn't bring so much dialogue into it later on.
More ambiguity.
Yes. Yeah. Just so that you could walk away feeling those conversations rather than feeling the characters talk about it. And let it kind of just like float around them rather than them, oh, let's dissect this. So that's probably one of my biggest gripes, is I just wish that they had let the momentum of the story continue rather than feeling the need to explain the story to us. But other than that, I mean, I think it's really beautiful. I think that it's for a lot of people. It's not so gruesome in a way that kids can't watch this too, which is a big thing, because a lot of with Guillermo's films is like he does want them to be almost not family films, but he wants them to be able to be taken in by all audiences, which I think it is. It's definitely a little intense at certain moments, but yeah, I'm excited to talk more about it with you guys.
Michael, broad thoughts. What do you got?
Yeah, so I was very excited about this film. I jumping right into it, I think that it's definitely visually one of the best things I've seen this year. It is so just captivating and it's beautiful. I think there's just building this world, and to be thrown into it the way we are. I was a big fan of it. I'm already really drawn to the story of Frankenstein. And it's funny because I don't really know the full story. I know you like kind of get into like the whole Frankenstein's bride thing eventually, and there's like a lot to it. I only really know like the generic version of it. So that was another reason why I was so interested in wanting to see this and seeing his adaptation with it. And again, that was as far as the world building, that's what really sold me with this film. I think that the performances backed it up, but funny enough, I'm very 50-50 at the same time with this film. And one of the negative sides of it, I think, falls in the performance category. I think that there were great performances. To hear Andrew Garfield was supposed to play I can't even picture that. I don't even want to think about that. That sounds not right. And I love Andrew Garfield, but that's no. So I think that performances, though, certain people in certain moments for sure hit. But I think other moments, it's not that they didn't hit. I think it's honestly more, it could be Guillermo's choice of how he decided to do things. And it also falls into little things like character design and just little things, I don't want to get too much into that because I could really get into each person, I mean. But that's just a kind of a little gripe that I had. I was a huge fan of, aside from the characters, I was a huge fan of this. I was not a huge fan, actually. Take it back. I was going to say another gripe. I do wish that a part of me feels like this movie felt a little rushed, as crazy as it sounds, knowing that it's an over 2-hour movie. I feel like, let me also preface this to the fans at home. I watched this on my phone, so I didn't get as the best sort of experience.
Cue the hate in the comment section.
Like, you shouldn't be watching this on your phone. It deserved better.
Sorry, guys. It's cut for time, Yeah, no, it was. I definitely want to go back and rewatch this on a proper screen experience. But I just I felt like, I don't know, I could sit here and say a lot on the gripes, but I'm gonna save those till we can really kind of get into it.
It's gonna be a good discussion.
This is gonna be very interesting.
It's a lot to talk about. Yeah, I haven't given away much, but let's just dive into the conversation. This is one of my favorite movies I saw at TIFF, as I said previously. We were talking a little bit before we started rolling back Guillermo's filmography, and his Best Picture winner is one in which I believe it's one of the only Best Picture winners I can remember in recent memory where the overall spectrum of movie-going audiences have kind of vilified that movie over time. I think it's a film that initially was kind of championed as this great swing and something different, and having a mute lead and falling in love with the fish, but the person inside the fish versus the regardless. I was really impressed with, it's weird to, I'm going to do my best to try to explain this. For somebody who is tackling their passion project, he stays very within himself in this movie directorially. I feel like you have a different idea of that, maybe based on what you were saying. But for me, I think it's one of his strongest directed movies that I have seen personally. Mm-hmm. He said that he's been visualizing this since he was a child. Like literally since he was 5 years old. He's like, the way that I visualized what Frankenstein looks like in this movie is exactly what I saw him to be when I first read Mary Shelley's novel and when I became aware of who Frankenstein was. And the horror of what he goes through as a character and how he's treated as a creature and how he always felt so sorry for him. And he's like, I kind of feel like I'm a little bit like Frankenstein in some way, of this broken manifestation of different pieces and different, all these things. So I think that's beautiful. Going back to the Andrew Garfield thing, and I do want to talk about the performances too. I'm also a huge Andrew Garfield fan. I walked out of this movie and I was like, I could not see literally anybody else doing this part except for Jacob Elordi.
No one.
Personally. I think that it's unfortunate that there are so many strong performances this year for supporting actor that I don't really think he has a chance, which is crazy because I think he's unbelievable in this movie, but I don't think he has a chance. I think partly because it's Netflix. I think partly because he's playing a monster. I think partly because it's Guillermo and his performers usually never get nominated, with the exception of Sally Hawkins and I think Octavia Spencer and Michael Shannon might have got nominated the same year for Shape of Water. But like, it doesn't happen very often. So, but yeah, like I agree with what you were saying. Like Andrew Garfield in this role, it's I would love to see what it would have been like, because it would have been such an entirely different swing and chance for him to do it. But Elordi to me is the biggest standout in this movie. So I don't know if you guys want to start jumping into what he represents in this movie, because especially coming in like 2 weeks before production started,
it's pretty crazy.
is wild.
Well, Michael, I want to start with you then, because you had some opinions about performances. Is he one of the ones that you weren't vibing with?
So funny enough, he is. I agree. He is the best performance in this film. I mean, all things considered, he's all the makeup and everything. The gripe that I had with him was where it fell more on the design, to be honest. And
like
I
that,
think
the costume.
yeah, and I think that not even not just the costume, more of just like the build of Frankenstein, like him having like this, like growing into having like this natural nice hair and everything, and like, you know what I'm saying, and like, I don't know, there are like parts of it that like, now hearing that Guillermo like envisioned this since like a young age, I'm like, how did you see that? But granted, I didn't read the book, so like I don't want to like be too critiquey on that, you know. I think that aside from the actual look, I think that the costume I loved. I agree with you, Liz. I think all of the costumes in this film were just stunning, and I honestly haven't seen anything like it. It fit just everything for this film, I think. But I don't know. It's just like something about it that it didn't work with me. At the same time, though, the performance was amazing. I also can't imagine anyone else but Jacob Elordi doing this, and I'm a big Jacob Elordi fan, actually. It's so funny because I feel like a lot of the Euphoria cast has kind of shown has proved himself a little, not all of them, but but I feel like he has, to me. And so I feel like he was the standout. I think that down to even just a scream from him, it's so like, again, captivating. You're like really like just like immersed in even his performance. I think that to the whole violence thing, I think that they did do the right amount of violence, because you would think a character like Frankenstein will get violent and kill people and do things like that, and he did that, and it was like 1% of the boys. Like that's the best I can compare it to. Like, you know, and like I think that's what they needed. Like just that 1%.
Yeah.
And I liked that. And even getting towards the end of the film, I think that's another thing that kind of started to lose me. And what I meant by things started to feel rushed. We're talking spoilers at this point, right?
Yeah, we can talk spoilers.
Yeah.
Okay. By the end of this movie, he's like a man. Like he's like hello father, I can like talk, and I'm just like, wait a second. Like I know you got some like hoods on phonics lessons going on, but like I don't think that it's like we're that far ahead. And the end moment, the monologue he had with, and like even that last scene with Oscar was beautiful. I loved it, and I love the two of them together. Don't get me wrong, I think that they are a great pairing as far as just this, but it just didn't work for me, the ending. A lot of that fell on Elordi's performance, and I think it wasn't anything on him. It was just at that point where we got to with Frankenstein himself, with that design, the choices that Guillermo decided to take with having him talk, and like I don't know, it felt like I was like, how did we get here so quick? And that's what I meant by like things felt rushed. Like it wasn't necessarily rushed, but I was just like, oh, there were a lot of important beats that he wanted to get to.
You wanted to see more of the progression of him when
At
he
that
kind of
farm.
became fully formed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it was like we were kind of just there. And then they had that moment. And like he was kind of hunting him down. And even like the buildup of like, even we got to his story, like, which I loved. I loved how they broke it up between like the part 1, part 2, part 3 of the different perspectives. But it was just, I don't know. I'm starting to ramble. I'm losing my train of thoughts.
What did you think about the way they portrayed Elordi and just Frankenstein in general?
I thought he was the best part of this film. I think I want to talk about his voice in this. Honestly, I was like, oh, they're definitely like, he's not speaking. Like his voice transforms in this film, and I'd love to know what he exactly did in order to get his voice to sound so different from what his actual speaking voice sounds like.
Mhm.
Which like that in itself, and Michael, like, you know, like when you are changing your speaking voice and going at like a completely different speaking tone, like that takes training and experience. And the fact that he only had 2 weeks to really prep, like, this is mind-boggling to me, because people spend years trying to be able to change their voice and to get into a different character and a different tone. So that alone I thought was really brilliant. Just his like physicality too, when especially in the beginning when he's like born, just watching this huge figure of like a human being just crouching down and like learning like their limbs for the first time. He's really doing some just incredible acting work. And like this is kind of what actors like dream of just to be able to do transformative work. And very experimental in a way too. And I'm glad that he is kind of going this way with his career. I think everybody is like a little shocked that he's going this route. And not kind of going like leading man, pretty boy dream, like, ooh, like Leo in a way. I think he's going a much more experimental route, which I like, because I think this role will open him up so many doors, and people are going to be knocking, like calling up his agent, trying to be like, what does he want to do now? Does he want to kind of keep going down this route and being like a little bit more experimental, or does he want to go a little bit more leading? So I'm interested and excited to see what this does for him. He is not going to get nominated, I think. Although it's very surprising and just a great job, it's not Oscar bait. Bait, and he may get like nominated for a Golden Globe, because Golden Globes they're a little bit more accepting of more unique roles, but Oscar wise I think that he's going to be overlooked, which is disappointing. But I think that he's one of the best in this. The other person that obviously Oscar Isaac is perfect in everything he does. I really loved his character arc that he does in this, of making it seem like he's doing all this for the right reasons in the beginning, and then slowly us getting to watch him kind of unfold and make the decisions that he makes, which I kind of disagree with you, Michael. I didn't feel rushed at all in this film. I think that they gave it just the right amount of time. I think it would have been rushed if they actually had this shorter than 2 hours, because I do think, and I never say this, but I do think that it needed the runtime that it did in order to give the roller coaster that you go on of watching this scientist create something that he cares so passionately about, and then when he finally gets this creation made, realizing that he doesn't actually know how to take care of it, and then watching that journey of him now having to parent something that he wanted so badly, but he's realizing he doesn't know how to actually take care of it at the end of the day, which I just think is such a great twist on the story of Frankenstein. And I think that it's usually, I knew that they were going to make us sympathetic with the creature in a way, but I just really love that conversation of like nature versus nurture, and that you can see that the creature, Jacob Elordi's, kind of more sensitive when he's first born, and then you can see those exact moments that his character starts to take more aggressive turns based off Victor Frankenstein's behavior.
I'm glad you brought up physicality. First of all, so happy to hear that you love a movie with a bloated runtime. Best news ever. But for me, I agree completely. The mixture between the physicality of what he does in this mixed with the tenderness of who he is. You want to stop?
Is it off?
You have to turn it off in the back.
Oh.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
You're good.
I just feel like we're all getting restless right now.
Other side, like closer to you. There's a switch.
There we go.
Got it. That's okay. All right, where were we?
You talking about?
Okay, I'll start with the runtime thing. Okay. Can you cut to her and then cut back to me for the edit? Okay. So I'm glad you brought up the thing with the runtime. It's so nice to hear that you love a movie over 2 hours. It's the best news ever. And that you brought up the physicality thing, because I think it's a mixture between the physicality of what he does and the tenderness of who this version of Frankenstein is. And I agree with what you were saying in terms of him with roles, because I think we're in this really interesting time of young actors doing things against what the industry wants them to do. Like, so, like, the only, and it's not even that, it's just that, like, they're all going in these different trajectories that, like, following in different footsteps, right? Like, Glenn Powell is Tom Cruise. Like, it's like, Glenn Powell is the second coming of Tom Cruise. Like, he's going to be able to showcase at some point that he's going to be able to do things other than just, like, the high intensity things, but he doesn't want to do a franchise. Like, like Tom Cruise eventually did one with Mission Impossible, but it was never intended to do something like that. Timothy Chalamet is already being compared to Leonardo DiCaprio because of the choices that he's making and because of the fact that he's like, I'm never doing a franchise. And he's like, I'm not, like, he literally was on an interview with Vogue and he's like, I'm not doing TV ever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never doing it. Austin Butler is going in this really interesting place with the roles that he's taking. And you brought up the Jacob Elordi thing. Like, I always think about his role in Priscilla, where it's like, Elordi could have been Butler in Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. And I love that. I love both of those performances because they're so different from one another, and they're both telling stories about the same man in different perspectives. So one from the female perspective, obviously being married to Priscilla, and the other one being this bombastic Baz Luhrmann spectacle kind of thing. But yes, Oscar Isaac was one of my favorite actors in the world. So I'm going to give him his flowers too, because so much of that ego-driven lunacy that Victor is in this movie is so important. Like you said, Michael, too, with the dynamic between Victor and Frankenstein is so important to making this movie not only work, but move. Yeah. Because if that doesn't work, you're going to fall, you're going to feel one way or another for both characters. And I love that. And I do, again, I agree. This movie needed this runtime because you needed to see and feel the empathy for that little boy that lost his mother, that now is doing anything and everything in his power to find a way to make people live, like, to their fullest extent. But he doesn't believe that his science is up to his impossible standards, and it causes this major crash out and this unbelievable moment of realization, and like you said, the beauty that we get in the end of it. So I disagree with that. Well, you said you liked it, but it's like, I actually feel that I also don't really feel like it was rushed. I feel like we got enough without having to see, I guess, like we see enough, I think, of Frankenstein develop to kind of get us to that place. The design I can understand because it's very non-typical to what we're accustomed to in popular culture of what Frankenstein is. Yeah. So I can understand that. I'm actually reading up a little bit more on the movie as we're recording, but one of the things he actually decided to do too, which kudos to Guillermo because it's a great choice. The novel that Mary Shelley wrote takes place in 1818. He pushes it 40 years into the future, into the Victorian era, which plays into what you talked about with the costume design stuff. But that mixed with the production design of the Gothic era buildings and the technology that they were using, and it's, to me, it's just like, it's truly this movie. A lot of times you use the word spectacle, like this is spectacle, and that's why I'm like, damn it, I wish you guys both got to see it in a theater, because when you see it on a big screen, it's just like when you see the tower, when he's climbing up to the tower and he's getting the electricity to come down, you're seeing these unbelievable machinations that he's creating out of, and he's getting all these things transported in from Christoph Waltz's character. Like, you see all of that unfold, and you see the nooks and the crannies kind of on the big screen. And I think that's why I loved it so much, because it was a movie where I was like, it was a movie where it was worth seeing on a big screen, but it didn't have the allure of like, go see this in IMAX because of the action. Go see this in IMAX because it's gonna be louder. It's like, no, see it in the biggest screen possible because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's artistry and tapestry on like the largest degree.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, like, acting wise, it's interesting. I like Mia Goth in this movie as well. She's the one that I've been hearing the most gripes people have with, that she was miscast in this movie. I don't know if either of you guys felt that way. But I've heard that from people. Oscar Isaac, like I said, I think is great in this movie. Elordi, I think, steals the show. Christoph is like, I love that Christoph is great, but he needs to work with the most talented filmmakers in the world to push him into these characters that fit who he is, because Guillermo and Tarantino know how to work with him. Meanwhile, this is a little off topic, but like, he's done stuff. I know I've seen him in one Tim Burton movie, but it didn't work with me. And Tim Burton's a great filmmaker, but it just didn't work, and you would think it would work. But I think he's great with Del Toro. He's in Pinocchio, which I don't think either of you guys had seen, but he's amazing in Pinocchio with his voice as well in that. And I think he does good work in this as well. Charles Dance is great as Victor's father. David Bradley is great as the blind man, I think. So like, in terms of acting wise, there's a lot that I liked, but you made a face at me when I said Mia Goth. So we have to go to you, because I feel like you have something to say, because you said at the top you had issues with performances.
I did have issues with performances. So I'll start with Oscar, actually. Again, I loved him. I also am a big Oscar fan. I love him and everything. I think he's good in everything. But this was not, I don't think this was his best performance. I think that it was a good performance, and maybe it's because I've seen better performances of his, but I just don't think this was his best. I think that the character arc was nice to see, but I still didn't get a lot from him with this performance for whatever reason. I don't know why. There were little moments where I did, but it wasn't more so on his performance. I think it was the given situation. Like, I'll give you like an example. When the explosion happened and he like ran back to like, kind of like, he had that second thought of like, oh, this like the monster, and he like flew back. And there was a moment where like his leg was like kind of like chopped off, and he like the reaction of him, I was like, that was like the most I got from him, and that was like such a small moment, and I was like, I don't know, I like, that's a very biased thing to say, so I don't know. It was still a very good performance, don't get me wrong, but Mia Goth shouldn't have been in this movie. This is sadly the first it's like performance I've seen of Mia Goth. I haven't seen any of the Eds movies.
You've never seen her in anything else?
I've never seen her in anything else.
Interesting. That might have something to do with it.
Yeah, I think so.
And I've heard all these amazing things about her, especially from the Eds movies, you know. And I was thinking that she was gonna kind of give off this, like, I hear she's like a horror icon. Not horror, but like she like in this. Yeah, would you say?
She's a horror icon just because of her roles.
Okay.
That she's done with like the X series.
Okay, and so I knew this didn't really fall in the horror genre, but I knew that like there was still enough play for her to kind of give me something of that character that I was expecting of her. But it wasn't just her; it was the character, if I'm gonna be honest, and that's another reason why I feel like certain parts of this were rushed. I don't know the full story, but I feel like the whole storyline between her and Victor, with them kind of like gaining like this like chemistry and everything, and then like it kind of just like being for nothing sort of thing, you know what I'm saying? Not like that, but it was like there was a lot of that film where it was so focused on that, and like a lot of Victor's backstory where I was like, is this like, why, like none of this really matters in like the grand scheme. And I know that her relationship to the monster, and even her relationship in terms of Victor having to like reshape a lot of his mentality, I think were important. But at the same time, it was just like, okay, we had this whole thing kind of for nothing. And then even her death at the end, like I understood like why, especially with like her character, but it was just like I hadn't gotten enough at that point for it to really hit me. I was like, oh snap. So I didn't think
You
that
didn't feel connected to the relationship
at all
with her, with Frank, or with Victor.
well, mainly with her, I guess, with her character.
Yeah.
And I guess that just kind of falls then more on her because it's
Well, he's not the only person I've heard say that.
I like how you called him Frank.
Yeah,
Frankenstein.
we're
Frank.
me and Frank,
Frank.
me and Frank are boys at this point.
What did you think about her though?
I liked
before
her
I
in it.
talk?
I mean, I'll say this. I mean, I've seen her in a lot of things. In the things I've seen her in, it's my least favorite performance of hers.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think she's good. I don't think she's great. I think she's good. Pearl is one of my favorite performances
It's brilliant though.
in
Pearl.
forever. Yeah, like literally maybe one of my top 5, top 10 favorite female performances literally ever. I love her in the X trilogy, even Infinity Pool. Have you seen Infinity Pool?
Mm-hmm.
She's so good in that movie too, and a movie that is okay by design, but the movie literally doesn't work if she's not in the movie.
No.
So I think she's good, but so we lost my camera, so that's why we're back. Hello, everyone. But I think I was talking about, I think it's a good performance. I don't think it's great. I do think she might be the weakest part of the movie to me, but it didn't take me out of the movie for any experience. I do want to talk about the cinematography because, again, it's like I have a very different experience for you guys, but like where there's certain shots that stuck out to you, where there's certain sequences that stuck out to you. Again, the settings to me are just so lavish and so large scale. I mean, the Arctic to start is unbelievable. I love when we have sort of even the scenes in the barn where like Frankenstein's kind of like hiding around, and like another gripe that I have, one of the small gripes I have that a lot of people had, was the wolves look terrible. CGI is horrific. And again, bothered me a lot more seeing it on a big screen probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't really notice it.
But no, it was rough. It was very rough. But other than that, I really like a lot of the way they do the set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I love how they weave in and out of this society that we get enough of to kind of understand where they're coming from, but not too much to kind of make the focus on the characters rather than the tapestries that they're presenting. So what did you think about some of the sequences?
No, I mean, it's beautiful. I think my favorite scenes, which is surprising, are the Arctic ones when they're on the ship. It just feels so grandiose, but also isolated at the same time, which is such like a hard thing to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And just like even when he's like going under the water and like falling underneath it, or when his like hand extends out, like it's just, I think that was some of the most beautiful work because it was also just very clean and quiet in a way. So those are my favorite.
Have you watched The Terror?
Terror?
Yeah.
No.
You should watch season 1. You'll love it. Because
Really?
it's all that setting.
But it's weird because I usually don't like gravitate to like Arctic.
You'll like it. Trust me.
Like
Trust
scripts.
me. It's got the same vibe.
Okay.
Same vibe.
All right.
Michael, what did you think? Again, what was
Actually, randomly quick before I say literally the first thing I said when I started this film, I was like, reminds me of the Polar Express. Like
it's a wonderful movie for the holidays for everybody, right before Thanksgiving and Christmas. Michael, was there a scene, even though you saw it on the smallest screen possible, was there a scene that stood out to you in terms of the visuals that you really appreciated? Or again, maybe it's something that you wish they did a better job with?
For me, I think it was I still got a good experience off the phone, guys. Don't get me wrong. I saw the shots. I think that when they first got to the castle where the monster is built, I think that it was something about that it was like that introduced me to like Darian, when you brought it before, like the blending the Victorian time with like the look of the landscape
with the
like
Gothic.
Gothic, exactly. That was for me where I was like, oh wow, this works. And like it was something about that moment too where I was like, oh okay, like it was like that rising moment where you realized like, oh okay, like we're really about to get into this, like this is where the monster's obviously going to get created. And so there was something about that. And then it was also being in that little room in the end. I had gripes with it, but it was something about having that intimacy and that last moment, and even having the monster being able to like, I didn't like him just be going Professor Hulk out of nowhere and just being able to talk, but like, I just like it's I still appreciated that moment despite everything.
You appreciate the messaging.
The messaging.
You don't appreciate the execution.
Exactly. And for me, that messaging was more so the theme of life and death. I feel like that was really, really good in this film. It's not, I don't, just like the perspective on it from both sides was really interesting, especially the monster. That initial moment where like he explained how like he had died and then he like came back to life and how he was like choking on it, and it was something even in that performance where I was like, oh wow, like I knew of Frankenstein, I knew of like him being like alive and dead at the same time, but I never thought about that idea of like, oh wow, how hard that is to like be living in this constant cycle. And I feel like Elordi really, really captivated that performance and that theme really well. And you know, I think that for that theme and that last moment of not even just like a parent sort of end beat, like you were saying, Liz, that whole theme, but having then like him, the monster, be able to reflect that whole like, I've like been going through this, like I've been like life and death sort of thing. Now it's your time to experience death. It was something really beautiful in that, and so I acknowledge that, but it also wasn't that good.
I love it. Is there anything else that we haven't talked on that we need to cover, do you think?
I just want to say one thing about Mia Goth.
Okay.
I don't think she was miscast. I think that she had a weird dialect in this. She already kind of has a very unique speaking voice. Yeah. And so I think then adding on an accent to it didn't help her in any way. And I think that they should have just taken that away and let her speak as she normally does. But then people probably would have been like, she's too modern sounding. She's too modern. But I think that really didn't help her. But I don't think she was miscast. I think that she was perfectly cast for this. I think that she probably just got wrapped up in like trying to do a dialect.
Accent.
Yeah, because that you can take over your brain.
I think she talked about on the red carpet maybe about how she was nervous about the role too, and Del Toro was like, "You're like, I believe in you. Like, this is why I'm doing it." So I don't know. Maybe that kind of shows a little bit more on screen in this, unfortunately. But is there anything else we haven't covered in terms of details? No. Should we get the scores?
Let's do it.
All right. I'll start. This movie, I think, it's brilliant. I think it's like cinematically, it's beautiful in so many different ways. Jacob Elordi, man, I wish it was a different year, because I really think that he might have had a shot. He still might have a chance. I agree with what you're saying. I don't think he has a chance at an Oscar nomination. I do think he's going to get SAG. I think he's going to get BAFTA. I think he's going to get a Critics' Choice, because I think it's just too powerful of a performance overall, with the physicality and the tenderness and dealing with the multiple relationships with Victor and with Mia Goth's character, and even learning about himself and the blind man. Like, he carries so much of this movie, even though Victor's obviously a central part of it too. Like I said, one of my favorite movies at TIFF. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. I don't know if it's in my top 10. It's a really, 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 really good year for movies, everybody. Go see more movies. But I'm going to give it a 9. It's really, really strong for me. It's one of my favorite movies, like I said, of the year. It's probably my favorite Guillermo del Toro movie ever that I've seen personally. I have a lot of gaps, so nobody yell at me in the comments. I haven't seen Pan's Labyrinth or Kronos. But this film, Pinocchio, they're both up there for me. So his Netflix, he's doing great work on Netflix, but I wish this was in more theaters, so you guys got to experience it in the theater. But I'm going to give it a 9.
Okay.
Liz.
I think I agree with everything you said about visually. It's beautiful. It's interesting because it's not typically a film that like I gravitate toward, just because it's not, that's it. But the performances really, really took me by surprise. And I can't stop thinking about some of the costumes, like her wedding dress at the end of it. Just like, I think I saw her talking about it, Mia Goth, where she was like, the sleeves of like the wrappings emulate his the creature's wrappings from like the beginning. And so like I just think that the production and creative team behind this is doing very impressive work. Yeah, and I don't have like a ton of gripes, so that's why I'm giving it an 8.
Okay, Michael.
Okay.
Michael.
I'm gonna sound like so back and forth with this. All right, so it was visually stunning. I think we all agree on that. Another thing to the whole life and death theme that I really liked and appreciated in this film that was slowly tucked in there that I really liked was the whole like angel of death thing that kind of like kept playing out. And how like
sick visual,
right?
Yeah.
Like, and it coming to him too the way it did. It was just that kind of it was something about that. And when you first were introduced to the mom, where
Who was also played by Mia Goth.
Really?
She plays the mom.
Mm-hmm.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, both characters.
Does it change your opinion that she plays both characters?
All right, I'll give her that one. I'll give her that. And Mia, you got me. Wow, I actually did not know that. Wow, that yes, that does change it. But when you first were introduced to the mom, that shot, something about even just the going to the camera movements in this film, everything was so smooth and like seamless, and everything I felt like just complemented one another. Yes, I have some gripes. I think they all kind of fall more on Guillermo after kind of talking them out. I think they were just kind of director's choices that I wouldn't have gone with personally, but you know, I'm also about always reinventing ideas, and especially things that have been kind of stuck like a specific image a certain way. And so yeah, performances I definitely think were great. Elordi, I definitely am excited for. I think that y'all thought I was crazy for kind of hyping up Saltburn, but like it made sense. So I'm really excited to see what else he has to do. Yeah, after all of this, I think I'm gonna give it an 8 as well.
Okay. All right. So that was our review for Frankenstein. You guys can stream the movie now on Netflix. If you could find it in a theater, please go and try and see it in theater if you guys can. I know it's expensive to go to the movies, but this is one of those cinematic events that I think is very well worth it if you can find it in a theater. So let us know, though, in the comments if you already had a chance to check this out. What were your thoughts on it? Is it one of your favorite Del Toro movies? Is it one of your least favorite Del Toro movies? What did you think of the performances of Elordi and Goth and Isaac and Waltz and everybody else in this movie? Do you think it'll be nominated for some Academy Awards? We'd love to have conversations with you guys in the comment section, so be sure to leave those comments down below. Give this video a like if you guys can, and subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network. We have tons of other reviews on the channel at this point. We're nearing the end of the year, folks, and we've reviewed so many movies this year. So there's probably a review for you somewhere there. We got One Battle After Another. We have Train Dreams. We have movies from festivals. We have Freakier Friday, Liz and I did. We have Sinners from the beginning of the year, Weapons, all these great movies that have come out this year. So check out all that stuff. We also have interviews on the channel and things, like I said, from film festivals. You can also follow us on social media. All that stuff is below me in the video, and it's also in our YouTube description. So just signing off. I am Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Liz Seiko.
I'm Michael Peniston.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.